Hello and a very good day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our forum titled Addressing Global Warming, including causes, consequences, and solutions for a sustainable future. My name is LIM JIA CHENG, and I'm honored to be your moderator for this important discussion. Today, we are here to address one of the most pressing challenges of our time, which is global warming. As we know, global warming is primarily caused by human activities, including the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial processes. And these actions release significant amount of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and also methane. According to research from emission sources, greenhouse gases and the global warming effects in 2024, industrialization and urbanization, particularly in developing countries, have significantly increased carbon emissions, contributing to climate change. Besides that, an article on current trends in biological sciences in 2024 indicates that global warming is a growing concern caused by burning fossil fuels and deforestation, which release harmful gases like carbon dioxide and methane. In today's panel, we will explore the key issues around global warming, its causes, impacts, and the solution we need for a sustainable future. And our panelists will share their knowledge, experiences, and practical ideas to help us better understand this critical topic. Let's get started. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. The first panelist will be Wan Xuan, second panelist will be Xin Yi, third panelist will be Yi Xin, and the fourth panelist will be Qiao Yan. So, first panelist, to start our discussion, could you share your insights on the primary causes of global warming and how human activities contribute to this issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Moderator, for asking me this question. So before I start to illustrate all the causes of global warming, I should acknowledge that the most of the human activity is linked to global warming. Firstly, burning fossil fuel for electricity generation, plastic and clothing production, and transportation contributes to the greenhouse effect by increasing the concentrations of major greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. This elevated level can significantly warm the atmosphere, potentially raising the temperature by several degrees. Fossil fuels, primarily composed of carbon, hydrogen, and small amounts of sulfur and nitrogen, release carbon dioxide and methane when burned. This gas traps heat, which will cause the greenhouse effect occur and lead to global warming and climate change. As a basic knowledge, greenhouse effect is trap the heat from the atmosphere from the surface of the earth by a substance called greenhouse gas. So according to summer 2015, fossil fuel combustions account for approximately 75% or more of the increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide level. This significant contribution is a primary driver of global warming and climate change. Here is some tips for you all about the fossil fuel extraction and transportation release of metal. Metal is a potent greenhouse gas that have a much higher heat trapping ability than carbon dioxide in a short term. So another significant contributor to global warming is deforestation. While deforestation is often pursued for land development and economic value, it primarily involves the conversion of forests for agriculture, logging, road construction, and urban expansion. So economic pressures and the dependency on forest resources further exacerbate this issue. Moreover, trees played a crucial role in sequestrating carbon dioxide. When they are cut down, the stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere. This release amplifies the greenhouse effect, thereby accelerating the process of global warming. Have you all even heard about the State of World Forest 2020 state that approximately 12 million hectares of forest are destroyed each year? how terrible thing that I heard. It emphasized the significance of forests in absorbing carbon dioxide, and it appealed to people to protect our environment and forbid people from cutting down the tree. So it's because deforestation is responsible for roughly a quarter of global greenhouse gas emission. Last but not least, industrial processes are significantly contributor to global warming, particularly through activities such as cement production, metal manufacturing, and chemical synthesis. Cement production involves the carbonation of limestone, a process that requires heating at high temperature and results in the release of substantial quantity of carbon dioxide. Similarly, metal productions, particularly from ore, often necessary that use of fossil fuel and generates considerable emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas. So, for example, Suhydro 2040 emphasized the detrimental environmental impact of conventional concrete production, which is associated with high carbon emissions and resource depletion. These traditional methods for producing concrete involve the significant energy consumption and release of substantial amount of carbon dioxide during the carbonation of limestone. In response to this challenge, the concept of green concrete have emerged as a sustainable alternative aiming to reduce the carbon footprint and seek to minimize the harmful emissions. So that's all for me.
Wow, that's a great point about deforestation being a key contributor to global warming. Can you elaborate on how deforestation impacts the carbon storage dynamics and why the issue tends to be more significant in developing regions compared to developed ones? Thank you.
Thank you, moderator, for asking me this interesting question. So I think that deforestation will reduce the carbon sequestration. It's because forests are plays a significant role for capturing atmospheric carbon dioxide. So deforestation directly decreases the number of trees available to absorb carbon, reducing overall sequestration capacity. For instance, the IPCC Climate Change Report 2040 estimates that land use change, especially deforestation, contributes 10 to 50% of global greenhouse gas emission. When forests are clear, not only is the capacity to absorb the carbon dioxide lost, but the emissions from the burning and decomposition of trees add to the atmospheric carbon dioxide level. Well, that has a great question that the moderator asked about the issues trend to more significance in developing region compared to developed one. So because of developing regions facing an economic pressure and reliance on forest resource can drive to a high rate of deforestation. So this region may lack the infrastructure and resource to implement sustainable land management practice. So while developed regions have a lower rate of deforestation due to the issue like industrial agriculture and urban sports still pose threat. So I hope my answer is helping you all to know more about the deforestation. Yeah. So thank you.
Exactly my thought. As a conclusion, the causes of global warming, including the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and also the industrial processes, are all deeply rooted in human activities. These actions significantly increase the greenhouse gas emissions, which trap heat and disrupt the Earth's climate system. Evidence shows that reducing these emissions through sustainable practices, such as adopting alternatives like green concrete and protecting forests, is critical. By addressing these causes, we can take meaningful steps towards mitigating global warming and securing a more sustainable future. Now that we have discussed the causes, panelist number 2, could you share your thoughts on why it is so crucial to slow down the global warming and what is at stake if we fail to act? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lin. I'll say that slowing down global warming is crucial to mitigate a wide range of environmental, social, and economic impacts. Here are three key reasons why it is important, supported by article evidence. Firstly, one of the important reasons to slow down global warming is to prevent extreme weather events. As global temperature rises, the intensity and frequency of extreme weather events like hurricanes, heat waves, and heavy rainfall significantly increase. These events not only have catastrophic consequences for ecosystems, but also cause severe damage to agriculture, infrastructure, and human populations. Communities that are already vulnerable, such as those in coastal or low-lying areas, will bear the brunt of these changes. Furthermore, as the world becomes more interconnected, the ripple effects of extreme weather events can lead to wider economic disruptions globally, affecting supply chains and trade. By slowing global warming, we can curb the severity of these impacts and buy time to develop resilient infrastructure and adaptive strategies for the most affected regions. This is supported by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change (IPCC) report in 2018, which emphasizes that limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius would significantly reduce the likelihood of extreme weather events compared to higher temperature scenarios. For instance, heat waves could be 4 to 5 times more frequent in a 3 degrees Celsius warmer world compared to a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. Slowing global warming reduces this risk, safeguarding communities, agriculture, and infrastructure. Secondly, slowing down global warming is vital to protect the biodiversity and ecosystems. The increasing temperature of the planet places tremendous stress on natural ecosystems, threatening biodiversity and disrupting species habitats. For instance, coral reefs, vital ecosystems that support a wide range of marine life, are particularly vulnerable to ocean warming, resulting in coral bleaching and the destruction of these habitats. On land, many species are facing the risk of extinction due to the rapid pace of climate change, which disrupt established ecosystems and shift temperature and precipitation patterns. Moreover, ecosystems like forests, wetlands, and polar habitats are also affected by these changes, leading to imbalances that could have long-lasting effects on global biodiversity. According to Mark and Urban in 2015, the study claims that even a 2 degrees Celsius rise in global temperatures could put around 10% of global species at risk of extinction due to habitat loss, changes in ecosystems, and shifts in temperature and precipitation patterns. Slowing down warming gives species more time to adapt and reduces the extent of habitat disruption. Last but not least, climate change is increasingly recognized as a major driver of economic instability. The impacts of extreme weather events, such as floods, wildfires, and droughts, can damage infrastructure, displace populations, and disrupt essential industries, including agriculture, energy, and transportation. Additionally, these disruptions lead to higher costs for recovery and rebuilding, burdening governments, businesses, and communities. As the global economy is highly interconnected, the impacts of climate change can also affect the international trade, resource availability, and investment flows, further exacerbating the economic challenges faced by countries, especially developing ones. For evidence, in 2024, World Bank has highlighted that climate change could push around 100 million people into extreme poverty by 2030 due to its impacts on agriculture, health, and infrastructure. This demonstrates how climate change disrupts economies, increases the burden on public health systems, and exacerbates poverty. Those are my thoughts on the importance of slowing down global warming. I would love to hear your thoughts or any questions you may have.
Hi, Xing. May I ask how do rising temperature impact biodiversity and ecosystem, and what insight can we gain from study on species migration and extinction pattern?
Thanks for your asking. Rising temperatures directly affect biodiversity and ecosystems by altering natural habitats, making it difficult for many species to survive. For example, like what I've mentioned in my second point just now, warmer oceans can lead to coral bleaching, and land-based species may face extinction due to the changing climate. For species migration and adaptation, as the climate warms, species may be forced to migrate in search of more stable environments. However, not all species can migrate quickly enough or may face barriers such as fragmented landscape or human-made infrastructure. This disrupts biodiversity as species may no longer be able to maintain their populations in new areas. I hope I answer your questions.
I see. I fully concur with the points mentioned. Slowing down global warming is essential to prevent extreme weather events that damage lives, infrastructures, and agriculture. It also helps protect ecosystems and wildlife that are at risk due to rising temperature. Additionally, addressing climate change is crucial for economic stability, as it prevents the disruptions to industries and reduces poverty. Taking action now ensures a safer, healthier, and more sustainable future for everyone. Now, panelist number 3, can you share some thoughts on what is the effect of global warming? Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. So now I will talk about the effect of global warming. Firstly, the effect that I would like to highlight is rising sea level. Some island nations will disappear. It is impossible to pin any single unusual weather event on global warming, but emerging evidence suggests that global warming is already influencing the weather. Heat wave, drought, and intense rain events have increased in frequency during the last 50 years, and human-induced global warming more likely than not contributed to the trend. Higher sea level will erode coastline and cause more frequent flooding. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC report, it is argued that global sea level have risen by approximately 20 centimeters from 1880 to 2020 and are projected to rise by an additional 30 to 110 centimeters by 2100 under various emission scenarios. This rise is primarily due to thermal expansion of water as it warms and the melting of glacier and ice sheet. Besides that, impacting ecosystem is also one of the effects of global warming. More importantly, perhaps, global warming is already putting pressure on ecosystem. The plant and animal that coexist in a particular climate zone, both on land and in the ocean. Warmer temperatures have already shifted the growing season in many parts of the globe. This change in the growing season affect the broader ecosystem. For instance, the research from the Global Change Biology Journal 2024 indicate that rising temperatures have caused earlier bud break in tree and earlier flowering in spring plant, leading to a misalignment with the timing of herbivore and pollinator that depend on this plant.
So, oh, sorry for to interrupt. May I know why you say the change in the growing season affect the broader ecosystem? Can you elaborate more on this?
Oh, well, of course, the shift in season may already be causing the life cycle of pollinator like bee to be out of sync with flowering plant and tree. This mismatch can limit the ability of both pollinator and plant to survive and reproduce, which would reduce food availability throughout the food chain. Warmer temperature also extend the growing season. This means that plants need more water to keep growing throughout the season or they will dry up, increasing the risk of field crop and wildfire. So last but not least, the effect is health and disease. Warmer weather could increase the spread of malaria, dengue fever, and yellow fever. Milder winter and earlier spring also extend the period when these vectors are active, resulting in prolonged transmission season and an increased risk of disease outbreak. These changes pose a significant public health challenge, particularly in areas with limited resources and health infrastructure to address emerging or resurging diseases. For instance, the World Health Organization WHO 2024 report that rising global temperature have expanded the geographical range of malaria and dengue fever to higher altitude and previously cooler region. So that's all from me. Do you guys have any question regarding my point that I mentioned just now?
I think you are absolutely right, Panelist 4. I would like to ask about how does the expansion of the geographical range of infectious disease, such as malaria and dengue, highlight the interconnectedness between global warming and public health?
Thank you, Xiaoyan, for asking this question. So for this question, I will say that warmer climate accelerate the life cycle of mosquito and the pathogen they carry, for example, Plasmodium for malaria and dengue virus. Increasing the likelihood of disease transmission, rising temperature allowed mosquito to survive and reproduce in regions that were previously too cold, such as higher altitude. Moreover, this also will accelerate the life cycle of both the vector and the pathogen they carry, such as viruses, bacteria, and parasites, enhancing their ability to transmit disease more efficiently. So I hope you can understand more on this after my explanation. That's all from me.
All right, thank you to panelist 3. So lastly, panelist number 4. Now I'm curious, what is the solution that can be done to slow down the global warming? Thank you.
Thank you, Moderator. So today I will explore three critical solutions that help mitigate global warming. Let's begin with the first solution, which is transitioning to renewable energy. It is common knowledge that the combustion of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas for electricity generation is the leading cause of greenhouse gas emissions. These gases capture heat in the Earth's atmosphere, triggering a process known as the greenhouse effects that will exacerbate global warming. To address this issue, we must reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and invest in clean and renewable energy sources like solar and wind, which emit little to no carbon dioxide emissions during operation. According to the renewable capacity statistic released by the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, in 2024, renewable energy sources accounted for 86% of global electricity generation's capacity additions in 2023, generally decreasing reliance on fossil fuels. Similarly, in 2023, the American Clean Power Association (SCP) indicated that wind energy in the United States helped avoid 346 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually. Hence, the significant growth in renewable energy sources and the impressive impact of wind energy on carbon dioxide reductions demonstrates the effectiveness of renewable energy sources in mitigating global warming. Now, moving on to the next point. The second solution to combat global warming is reforestation and afforestation. Before explaining the second solutions in more detail, I would like to describe the definitions of the two terms, which are reforestation and afforestation. Has any panelist heard about these two terms before?
Yes.
Yes.
Nice, thank you. Generally, reforestation involves replanting trees in a depleted or damaged forest, while afforestation is the process of planting trees where there were no trees before, thus establishing a new forest. Both activities are essential in reducing global warming since forests function as carbon sinks, removing carbon from the atmosphere and converting it into biomass via photosynthesis. In 2024, Simulations conducted by scientists at LMU Ludwig-Maximilians University of Munich highlighted that large-scale afforestation and reforestation could reduce global peak and end-of-century temperatures and shorten the overshoot period during which the 1.5 degrees Celsius target is exceeded. Thus, it is clear that increasing the numbers of trees can assist in controlling global temperature. Last but not least, another approach to mitigate global warming is adopting electric vehicles. Substituting vehicles that run on fossil fuels is crucial to reduce greenhouse gas emissions because electric vehicles do not emit any carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. According to the Statista Research Department 2024, the development of electric cars in 2019 has resulted in an annual avoidance of around 60 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions globally, equivalent to taking millions of conventional vehicles off the road each year. That is all for me.
You're absolutely right, especially on the third point. Could you elaborate more on it? I think that will be really interesting to hear more about.
Yes, of course. It is a fact that carbon dioxide released by traditional internal combustion engine vehicles that burn fossil fuels is a major greenhouse gas. In contrast to conventional petrol and diesel cars, electric vehicles run on electricity instead of fossil fuels like gasoline and diesel, generating zero tailpipe emissions. Therefore, this directly lowers the carbon footprint, especially in urban areas where vehicles' emissions significantly impact global warming. That is all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. To close our discussions, let's highlight the role of renewable energy in combating global warming. Studies show that sources like solar and wind significantly reduce emissions. With that, I would like to ask, what role do renewable energy sources play and how effective based on recent studies? Thank you.
Thank you, moderator, for asking me this question. Renewable energy sources play a critical role in mitigating global warming by depleting greenhouse gas emissions generated from the combustion of fossil fuels for energy. For instance, technologies such as solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal power generate electricity with little to no carbon dioxide emissions. In 2018, the International Renewable Energy Agency IRENA reported that renewable energy combined with energy efficiency measures can achieve over 90% of the energy-related carbon dioxide emissions reductions. Moreover, the Global Wind Report 2021 stated that wind energy helped avoid over 1.1 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions globally in 2020. Thus, using renewable energy sources instead of fossil fuels for energy production will reduce the greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere and help mitigate the effect of global warming effectively. Thank you.
I see. So in summary, reforestation, renewable energy, and electric vehicles are effective ways to slow down the global warming. They help reduce the carbon emission and create a more sustainable future. By focusing on this solution, we can take meaningful steps to protect our planet and fight the climate change. Before we end our panel discussion, I would like to give a short conclusion for today. Global warming remains one of the most critical challenges of our time, fueled by human activities such as the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and also the industrial processes. Its consequences are severe and far-reaching, with rising sea level threaten the coastal communities, extreme weather events disrupt lives and economies, and biodiversity loss endangers the balance of ecosystems on which we all depend. Left unchecked, global warming will continue to endanger not just our environment, but also the stability of global economies, public health, and also food security. This is not just environmental issues, but a fight for the future of humanity. Every decision we make today, whether to conserve energy, support sustainable policies, or educate others about this crisis, bring us closer to a sustainable, livable planet. The cost of inaction far outweighs the efforts required now. Together, we can confront this challenge and build a future defined by resilience, sustainability, and hope. The time to act is not tomorrow or someday. It is now. So that's all from us. Thank you for your attention.